Hi everyone. In this electronic course, we must understand some basics. So let's dive into those. Everything in this world, whether it is natural or artificial, is built by elements and compounds. Till now, there are 118 known elements. The smallest part of the element is atom. Atom contain protons, neutrons, electrons. And the center of atom, we call that as nucleus. Nucleus has protons, neutrons. The electron has negative charge, proton has positive charge, and neutron didn't have any charge. Neutrally charged. The electrons revolve around this nucleus, like Earth revolving around Sun. When enough force is applied on outermost electron, it becomes free electron. It will be knocked out of from this orbit, outermost orbit. Then it become free electron because this nucleus didn't attract this electron. It has less attraction on outermost electron, so we can knock this electron out from this orbit if we apply enough force. This flow of these free electrons, what we call current. So to make this electron free electron, we must apply some external force. That external force we call voltage. And a conductor is required to flow these electrons. So while flowing, there is some resistance to flow of these free electrons, what we call resistance of the material. Let's deep dive into elements and compounds. Matter. Matter is anything that has weight and occupies some space. Let's take this example. This pen has some weight and it occupies some space. So we can call this pen as a matter. And this matter or the nature is generally made by elements. So the combination of these elements are the combination of two or more elements we call compound. The general example we can say water. So water contains two different elements, hydrogen, oxygen. So there are two different elements combined, so we can call it as compound. And O2, this is just an element, but here there are two different elements, so we call this as compound. And the smallest part of this compound that still contains same properties of this compound we call molecule. So molecule is nothing but combination of two different atoms. So let's understand properly. So compound is combination of two different elements or more than two. So and the combination of two or more different atoms we call molecule. And there is something, the combination of these elements and compounds, that is what we call mixture. Air, for example, air is just a mixture of elements and compounds. Air contains oxygen, nitrogen and carbon dioxide and some other gases. And also salt water contain NaCl and H2O. So there are two compounds. That's it. Let's talk more about atom. Around the nucleus we have different orbits named as K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, and these orbits contain different quantity of electrons. For example, K contain 2, L, M, N, O, P, Q contain the respective one. In the outermost orbit we call as valence shell, and the nucleus has less attraction on those valence shell electrons. And the number of electrons in the valence shell we call valency. If we have less electrons in valence shell means it will be more conductive. The electrons can be knocked out easily. That means the more number of electrons in valence shell means the less conductivity it had. For example, if one atom has 7 electrons in their valence shell and another atom has 3 electrons in valence shell, the 3 electrons atom has more conductivity than the 7 electrons one. And also one important thing you must understand, the nucleus contain positive charge protons, so they will attract the electrons towards them. These electrons will be attracted by this nucleus, so they try to move toward electrons, but they won't collide with protons, because as we know, when an object is revolving around something, it will create some centrifugal force in this direction. So this centrifugal force is equal to this attraction, so that's why these electrons keep in this orbit only. It won't collide into the nucleus. And one more thing is, if we have more electrons, the valence shell is filled up, then that atom cannot conduct any free electrons. So we cannot knock out any free electrons from the outermost orbit. So those elements we call insulators, because they can't conduct any current, because they don't have any free electrons. And there are some materials we call semiconductors. They are in between conductors and insulators. We can use it as conductors and sometimes as insulators. For example, if we take diode, means in one direction it can conduct, in another direction it won't. So in one direction we can use it as conductor, and in another direction it acts as an insulator. So the diode only allow current in one direction. So in this direction it works as a conductor, in this direction it works as an insulator. So semiconductors are very important, so we will talk more about them in future. As we know, the flow of these electrons we called current, and to make these electrons move from one place to another we required an external force. That external force we called as voltage. In other terms, we also called as potential difference. Why we called it as potential difference? Let's take some example. Let's take one atom. It has more electrons. More electrons means more negative charge. So this atom is called as negatively charged atom. And another atom is there. It has less electrons than this one, so it is more positively charged atom than this one. So we call this as positively charged atom. In general, electrons move from here to here because it has less electrons. So these electrons will move to here to make it stable. So the difference of these electrons, what we call potential difference. In general, a single electron has very less charge, that is 1.602 into 10 to the power minus coulombs. That is very less to practically use. So we add 6.24 into 10 to the power 18 electrons to make 1 coulomb, to make it a standard unit. Okay, when 1 coulomb of charge passing through 1 point in 1 second, that we call as ampere. So we use ampere to measure current.